Welcome to the latest viral drama, and trust me, this one's a roller coaster. Without uttering a single word, GloRilla just stirred the internet into a frenzy, quietly making it clear that Yo Gotti might just be her new sugar daddy. This isn't your average celebrity gossip, it's a glitter-drenched storm of DMEs, diamonds, and pure chaos. Now, let's talk Angela Simmons. Because sis didn't just exit the spotlight, she vanished. No farewell post, no cryptic quote, no moody playlist drop. 1 minute she was arm in arm with Gotti, the next gone like a deleted app. No explanation, no closure. But make no mistake, this wasn't your basic breakup. This was full-on hip-hop heartbreak. The kind that doesn't just play out in private but unfolds like a cinematic tragedy on a loop. Streamed through stories and subtweets, this was not about two people partying ways quietly. No, this was staged under spotlights, iced-out gifts, sneak disses, surprise cameos in music videos, and captions that doubled as cryptic confessions. At first, it looked like your typical situationship unraveling the distance, the shady likes, the missed calls. But then came the glow. She popped out with a whole new aura. Fresh weave, fresh fits, face beat like she had a Grammy to accept. He doubled down to hitting the studio, posting gym flicks, flashing his chains like they held some deeper meaning now. And yet, behind all that glitter, everyone could feel it, something real had cracked. What followed was ghosting. Not the regular kind. This was the kind of silence that echoed louder than any diss track. He stopped tagging her. She deleted the soft launch pics. Suddenly, that vacation in Turks didn't happen, at least not online. The timeline got cold. But fans, the social media detectives, were hot on the trail. They picked up the subtext. In his lyrics, they zoomed in on her rings. Every lyric, every outfit was a potential message in disguise. Then, just when it seemed like things had cooled off, boom, another curveball. Maybe it was a new boo in her IG carousel or a surprise verse on a remix where he casually dropped a bar that felt just a little too specific, and everyone noticed. TikTok lit up. Think pieces dropped. The fans were deep in the comments, trying to piece together the emotional jigsaw puzzle in real time. Was she healing, or was she flexing? Was he over it, or just pretending? One moment they were unbothered. The next, someone was posting a throwback, with a should-have known better caption. The drama wasn't linear, it was cyclical, with every week delivering a new plot twist. And somehow, it wasn't just about them anymore. It became a whole vibe, a trap love story spiraling into social media madness. Everyone was watching, but nobody knew what they were really watching. Was it heartbreak, or just great PR? A breakup or a brand expansion? Were they broken, or just breaking the internet? And the wildest part, there was never a real confirmation. No, we're done. No, we're working on things. Just vibes, verses, and vanishing acts. One day, they were each other's muse. The next, they were each other's mystery. Now rewind for a sec, because Yo Gotti was pressed over Angela. He wasn't hiding it either. He dropped her name in bars, posted her like she was his muse, and went public with his feelings in the boldest way. When Angela finally said yes, Gotti treated her like royalty. Think luxury dates, matching looks, private jets. It was giving serious power couple vibes. At least on the surface then. Just like that, poof, the magic disappeared. Sweet captions, no playful stories, not even a vibey repost. It was like the whole relationship got wiped from existence. And then came the unfollow, the social media version of a mic drop. No birthday shoutouts. No throwback posts. Just silence. And if you know Angela, you know her relationship reveals are usually soft-launched and strategic. So when she dipped, without a word, the internet noticed. Rumors swirled that she felt like she was investing more than she was getting back. Gotti's schedule was packed, all studios and appearances, and she reportedly began to feel like an afterthought. When a woman no longer feels seen, she moves different. Suddenly, that unfollow made perfect sense. It wasn't random, it was the loudest quiet statement ever. No, we've decided to part ways posts. No, wish you the best notes. Just a cold shift in vibe. The couple stopped appearing anywhere together. No red carpets. No club pics, no stories. Angela started dropping captions that read like messages aimed at one person, and fans connected the dots. Meanwhile, Gotti played it cool. Too cool, he was back in the studio, releasing new music like he hadn't just lost his girl. No emotion, no comments, just energy. But that calm front, it said more than any breakup ballad could. Then enter GloRilla. And she didn't just step into the spotlight, she owned it. The timing. Impeccable. Let's not pretend she's new to this. GloRilla's been riding with Gotti since she signed to CMG, but lately, she's been looking less like a label signee, and more like a first lady. We're talking top-tier flights, exclusive events, VIP everything. Gotti's been putting her front and center, decked in designer, flawless glam, and shining in every frame. Public praise. Check. Rumors flying. While fans were still piecing together Angela's quiet exit, GloRilla was out here evolving. New looks, new attitude, and maybe even a nose job. Twitter definitely noticed. Rumors hit a fever pitch when GloRilla dropped a single photo that set the internet ablaze. It wasn't just her glam that caught eyes, it was the message behind it. One shot flipped the whole story on its head. People weren't just admiring her look. They were wondering, did Glo just replace Angela Simmons? The caption stayed chill, but the image screamed luxury. Glo was glowing like wealth, personified, beat flawless, face snatched, the glam. Immaculate. This wasn't your everyday selfie, it had big runway energy, like she'd just stepped out of a parachute. Quiet flex. Absolutely. But make no mistake, it was loud. Fans were quick to label it new money magic. That confident, don't ask me how I got it, energy was everywhere in the frame. Then came the real shakeup. Glo went live. Fresh face, new vibe.com, as ever. Just scrolling through comments like the internet wasn't currently imploding. Meanwhile, the live chat was losing it. Is that really her? Sis, what did you do? Flooded the screen. But Glo stayed. Composed, no explanations, no rebuttals. Just a flick of her hair, a sly smirk, and she let the glow do the talking. She looked iconic. The confidence practically jumped through the screen. Her vibe was clear. Speculate all you want, time booked, blessed, and better. And that's when the whispers turned into a roar. Folks began calling it the Yo Gotti effect. On stage, Glo gave a shout-out to her label, CMG, her fans, and the women who inspired her. But people were already reading between the lines. Her entire aesthetic shift, her soft life vibes, her expensive or all of it, they say, came from Gotti's influence. And now people are connecting the dots fast. Gotti didn't just co-sign Glo musically, he might have upgraded her to the main character. This glow-up wasn't just about designer bags and flawless bundles, it was the energy. GloRilla now walks into rooms, dripping with the kind of confidence money can't always buy. Fans caught on quickly. The online talk shifted to Gotti relationship history, specifically, how different things looked when Angela Simmons was in the picture. People started asking, where was all this love and investment energy back then? While Glo was getting flown out, iced up, and treated like a queen, Angela, they said, was fading into the background. Word on the street is that while Glo was front and center, Angela was feeling like an afterthought. The silence, the distance, it wasn't just coincidence. Insiders claimed she was over it. Sure, there were whispers about cheating, but this drama ran deeper. It wasn't just about another woman, it was about attention. Gotti seemed Elin, just not with Angela. He was locked into the CMG grind, spotlighting Glo at every show, video drop, and event. Meanwhile, Angela watched her role shrink in real time. That stings, watching yourself slowly be replaced. Then came more tea from Angela's circle. Close friends said she'd mentally checked out long before the public caught on. Behind the picture-perfect dates and coordinated red carpet looks, Angela was reportedly feeling played. She showed up, supported him, kept things classy, and held it down like a real partner, only to get nothing in return. Gotti, on the other hand, stayed in motion studios, business, tour, life, acting like Angela wasn't even in the picture. For someone who believed she was entering a balanced, mutual relationship, that kind of neglect cuts deep. Angela thought she was the main character. Turns out, Gotti may have been casting someone else all along. And now, looking at how he moves. For GloRilla, it's hard to ignore the difference. He's front row for everything she does. It's a whole different energy and people are noticing. Meanwhile, Angela's journey has taken an emotional turn of its own. In a raw, vulnerable moment, she opened up about navigating single motherhood after the heartbreaking loss of her son's father. She admitted the grief blindsided her. Therapy became a lifeline just days after the tragedy. She named her son after his father, a bond that deepened the pain, but also her strength. Support from both families helped, but the healing process has been far from easy. Angela Simmons once believed in a picture-perfect life. "You have a kid, you think this is how it's going to go," she shared. "In your head, it has to be perfect." But perfection cracked. She leaned into family, found strength there, but she never imagined being a single mom. But to really understand this, you've got to rewind. Gotti and Angela, that wasn't just some rapper meets girl storyline. That was a whole fairy tale, one carefully crafted over years in full view of the culture. This wasn't a secret crush, this was manifestation on wax. Gotti didn't just flirt, he fantasized. He built a narrative out of her. Dropped her name in his verses, like prayers. Gushed in interviews with that rare vulnerability rappers barely show. "I got a crush on Angela Simmons," he declared to the world, more than once. Until the world believed it too. Angela wasn't just a pretty face in the industry. She was the dream, a legacy baby, a woman who grew up in hip-hop royalty, but somehow managed to carve out her own lane. Elegant, grounded, faith-driven, she was the kind of woman who didn't just walk into a room, she carried the weight of a name and still floated with grace. Untouchable, protected, amused from a distance. And Gotti. He was the guy on the come-up who turned his fascination into a mission. The underdog with persistence. And in the world of rap, where the loudest flex is turning dreams into reality, there was something poetic about it all. He said her name before she even acknowledged him. It wasn't just infatuation. It was strategy. It was faith. It was art. Then one day, the dream said yes. Angela opened that door. Quietly at first. No fireworks. No big reveal. Just hints, soft launches. Whispers of something real building between the fantasy and the woman. And suddenly, the dream had a heartbeat. The public didn't just see the fantasy fulfilled. They watched the myth become a moment. Photos surfaced, cozy dinners, matching fits, smiles that looked too genuine to be PR. This wasn't just a win for Gotti, it was a win for everyone who ever loved out loud and waited. Patience had paid off. But that's when it started to crack. Because here's the thing. About dreams, they're perfect until they have to live in reality. Real love. Real love isn't glossy. It's not a hashtag. It doesn't live in curated photos or clever captions. It's inconvenient, it's honest, it's present. It demands your time when it's not trending. It calls you out when the cameras are off. It's not about aesthetics, it's about effort. And maybe Gotti wasn't ready for that part. Maybe he had spent so long chasing the image of Angela that he hadn't prepared for the human Angela, the one with expectations, with standards, with a heart that doesn't bend just because the fantasy looks good on the feed, because the muse becomes a mirror, and that's when it gets real. Maybe Gotti was in love with the idea of her, with the chase, with the story more than the substance, the vision, not the responsibility. And Angela, she knew her worth. She had been through enough to know what real presence looked like. After losing her child's father in a tragedy, after growing up in the spotlight, after protecting her peace for so long, she didn't need performance. She needed partnership. And perhaps, despite all his admiration, Gotti wasn't built for that kind of steady. Maybe he didn't realize that once the dream says yes, you don't get to coast, you have to show up. You have to answer texts when there's no fire. You have to sit in silence and still be there. You have to apologize without ego. You have to protect what you prayed for. But that's not how it played out. Somewhere between the glow-up and the public love, cracks began to show. Maybe it was small things to many nights out, too little communication. Maybe it was bigger, different values, different rhythms. The post slowed down. The appearances got distant. The warmth faded from the pictures. No dramatic breakup announcement, just a slow vanishing of evidence. No more joint vacations. No more hand-in-hand candids. Just space. Just distance. Just ... Silence. And the silence. It spoke volumes. Angela went back to her roots, family, faith, focus. She didn't spiral, she elevated. A woman who had nothing to prove, just everything to protect. Her glow shifted, not just external, but internal. She didn't chase explanations. She didn't clap back. She just moved gracefully, intentionally. Like someone who knew the difference between a man who wanted her and a man who was ready. For her and Gotti, he went quiet, too, but not the kind of quiet that reflects. The kind that retreats. He disappeared into work, music, the grind, the things he knew how to control. And every now and then, he'd drop a post that hinted at regret, a lyric that landed a little too close to home, a caption that felt like a sigh. But it wasn't clear if he missed her, or just missed the feeling of being the guy who got her. Because sometimes, the chase is more thrilling than the catch. The fantasy is intoxicating. All glitter, no gravity. It's easy to romanticize someone when they're at a distance, when you're only holding onto the curated version of them you've built in your mind. But once the dream turns into a woman with real needs, real emotions, real expectations, the fantasy loses its filter. Reality doesn't come with background music. It comes with compromise, consistency, showing up when it's inconvenient, and loving someone past the highlight reel. And what's wild is, there was no scandal, no betrayal, no messy tabloid drama, no headline to dissect. Just a fairy tale that quietly unraveled the moment real life entered the chat. No blow-ups, just fade-outs. No explosions, just silence. That's what made it so haunting. The story had all the ingredients: the pursuit, the passion, the public finally. But sometimes, love stories collapse under the weight of what we wanted them to be, not what they actually are. And in a way, that's the most heartbreaking kind of ending. Because there were no villains here, just timing, just truth, just two people caught between fantasy and reality. Two people who maybe loved each other in theory, but struggled to sustain that love in practice. They didn't fall apart because of some dramatic betrayal, they simply couldn't carry the expectations they built. The pedestal cracked under the pressure. He dreamed her, she gave him a chance. And for a moment, it looked like the universe had aligned. But love, real love, doesn't thrive on manifesting alone. It needs maintenance. It needs depth. It needs both people to show up after the music fades. When the likes stop rolling in. When the sparkle dulls and all that's left is two people figuring out how to hold space for each other. Maybe that's what happened. They tried, but they couldn't stretch the fantasy far enough to fit into real life. And so, it ended. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. No closure, no statement. Just a slow, quiet exit from a love that once felt like it could rewrite every rule. And maybe, just maybe, that silence was the truest thing they ever shared. And maybe that's the lesson. That manifesting the love isn't enough. Speaking it into existence is just the prologue, it's not the plot. Because once the universe delivers what you prayed for, the real work begins. You have to maintain it. You have to show up. You have to choose them, daily, even when it's inconvenient. Even when it's not aesthetic. Even when the hype dies down. You have to nurture what you name. It's easy to romanticize someone from afar, to crown them your muse, to speak them into your bars like a goal achieved. But a woman is not a trophy, she's a whole world. And when she finally lets you in, you don't get to marvel at the view and dip when it demands stewardship. Because when the dream turns real, it demands more than admiration, it requires action. Not the kind you post. Not grand gestures or Instagram declarations. The kind you live. The late-night check-ins. The apologies that don't come with excuses. The unsexy parts. The everyday showing up. And in the end, it seems the vision wasn't flawed. Just the execution. Gotti had the blueprint. He had the muse. He even had the moment. The fantasy folded into reality. And for a blink, everything he ever rapped about stood right in front of him, smiling, believing, trusting. That was his window. His answered prayer. His full circle moment. But when that moment knocked, not as a lyric, but as a woman with her own heartbeat, history, and needs, maybe he didn't answer like the man he thought he was. Maybe he answered like the man he used to be. The one who thrived on the pursuit, not the preservation. The one who loved the dream, but hesitated in the reality. And that hesitation, it cost him. Because when a woman like Angela says yes, not just to the vibe, but to you, she's not just saying yes to the version of you the world sees. She's saying yes to your flaws, your growth, your potential. But she's also trusting you to handle her heart with care, not clout. And if you can't hold that, you lose her. Quietly, completely, not because she stopped caring, but because she started protecting. So no, the story didn't end with scandal. It ended with a silence that hit deeper than any diss. With a dream fulfilled and fumbled, and maybe that's the real heartbreak. Not that it ended, but that he wasn't ready when it began. Angela didn't come light. She came with depth, motherhood, legacy, loss. Her ex-fiancé was murdered. That's trauma you don't just bounce back from. She was still healing, still rebuilding. She needed steady. She needed real. But did Gotti want real or just the image of having the girl? Everyone said he couldn't get, and then came the pressure. Quiet money problems started bubbling behind Angela's flawless feed. Lawsuits over unpaid rent, whispers of financial strain. It's the kind of stress that cracks even the strongest foundation. And this love, it didn't slowly fade, it snapped, and the fallout, still unraveling in real time. Let's not pretend this triangle's finished. Angela may be silent now, but silence has an expiration date. One tell-all. One spicy podcast. One so... She's giving luxury confidence and a glow that screams boss status. The kind of energy that turns heads before she even speaks. It's elegance with an edge, calm, collected, but commanding. Let's be honest, it's looking like the sugar daddy's starter pack is in full effect, and she's rocking it with zero shame, zero apologies, and all the power. Private jets. She's boarding with a Birkin designer, drip, head to toe curated, never chaotic, VIP access. She's not asking for invites, she is the list, and that glow, that's not rented. That's not for show. That's not the kind you slap a filter on. It's deeper. It's realignment. It's the after effect of detaching from anything or anyone that no longer matches her frequency. The kind of glow that doesn't just show up in selfies but walks into rooms and changes the energy. She's not just glowing, she's arriving. And as for Angela, she didn't go out messy. There were no long-winded captions trying to win the internet's sympathy. No 20-slide IG stories detailing her side. No messy subtweets, no slick digs. No live breakdowns dressed up as just being transparent. Just silence. But not the weak kind. Not the I don't know what to say silence. Not the I'm hurting and hiding silence. This was powerful silence. That grown woman, watch me elevate silence. The kind of silence that speaks louder than any screenshot ever could. The kind that says, I'm good, I'm healing, I'm thriving, and I don't owe you a performance. That's a different level of strength. Especially in a culture that profits off pain, where people rush to overshare heartbreak just to win the narrative. Angela didn't need to win a narrative, she just needed to protect her peace. And she did. The breakup, if you can even call it that, because nobody really confirmed anything, didn't spiral into drama. It evaporated. Quietly, elegantly. And what filled the space wasn't bitterness. It was elevation. Suddenly, Angela was everywhere, but not in the way you'd expect. She wasn't crying into the camera or posting sad quotes in pretty fonts. She was glowing up in real time. Brand deals, flawless fits, skin that looked like it was kissed by clarity. She walked red carpets like they were runways. She made appearances that felt like statements. And most of all, she moved like someone who knew her worth before and after the relationship, because that's the part people forget. Angela Simmons was never waiting to be chosen. She had her own legacy long before her name was ever in someone's verse. She's Rev Run's daughter. Yes, but more than that. She's her own woman, entrepreneur, mother, icon in motion. So when the fantasy dissolved, she didn't fall apart. She recalibrated. And now, she's in her soft power era. You can see it in her posture, in her silence, in the way she lets her actions, her access, her aura do the talking. Meanwhile, the timeline is still catching up. People are analyzing who unfollowed who, rewatching clips, decoding captions. But Angela, she's 10 steps ahead. Already on another flight, in another lane, writing another chapter. One that doesn't include explaining herself to anyone. And maybe that's the real win. Not the clapback, not the I'm good without him energy for social media. But the actual peace. The ability to keep your dignity in a world that thrives on spectacle. To choose grace over gossip. To keep your mouth closed and your crown high. Because anyone can post a thirst trap. Anyone can throw shade. But real grown woman energy. That's in the way you exit. That's in the way you rebuild, silently, steadily, and spectacularly. Angela didn't need to spin the block for closure. She let the door close and locked it with a manicure. And now she's surrounded by softness, by abundance, by what matches her, not just in status, but in intention. Maybe it's a sugar daddy, or maybe it's just someone who understands. She's not for play. Someone who values her time, her energy, her brand, her spirit. Whoever it is, whatever it is, it's pouring into her, and it shows. She's not chasing. She's choosing. She's not proving. She's positioned. The jets, the jewels, the drip, they're just a reflection. The real flex is the peace on her face. The stillness in her spirit. The maturity in her silence. And that silence, it's not passive. It's loaded because sometimes, silence isn't empty. It's just full of everything you've outgrown. So while the world is still gossiping about what went wrong, Angela's out here showing what going right really looks like, healing, elevating, and serving main character energy without ever saying a word. That's not a rebound. That's a rebirth. And no caption could ever compete with that. And the world felt it. Let's keep it real this saga. It's far from over. The drama's still simmering. And when it boils over again, oh, we'll all be front row, teacups ready. Because this story isn't finished. Not even close. So, let's talk about it. Did GloRilla really swoop in and snatch the throne? Or is Yo Gotti just moving different now? Was this a classic Globe takeover that flipped the whole script? Or was it always destined to be a fantasy, turned fallout? One thing we do know, the vibe has changed. Glow's presence, that calm, confident, I already won energy. Yat, that's not random. Something major shifted behind the scenes. Angela's silence plus Gotti's vanishing act equals a plot twist we never saw coming. This isn't just about music anymore. This is legacy. This is heartbreak. This is chess. And trust me, this isn't the end, this is just the build-up. So if you've been locked in with us, hit that like button, smash that subscribe, drop a comment below because GloRilla, Yo Gotti, and Angela Simmons just gave us a full-blown rap soap opera, and something tells me, the next episode, it's gonna be wild.